Hello, James Gillum here, student in SDI in class FTH 212511914. It's April 7th, Sunday, and we're going to be doing a couple of operations here today. We're going to be doing some major groups disassemblies, identifying some parts, as well as doing a complete headspace check, and identifying surfaces and dimensions that are going to be important for our disassembly. Started, we'll notice that the magazine is empty. The chamber is empty, and the magazine well is empty. No ammunition is present. Okay, so we have our firearm assembled down to a field strip for our subassembly identification. We have our slide, we have our barrel to include our recoil spring. We have our lower receiver and magazine. First, we'll do the upper half, aka the slide. So we're going to look at the barrel cuts in the slide, all the outside surfaces first. It's easiest to check on those, make sure they're good. We're gonna check the sights, make sure they're all in alignment, check the breech face as well. Let me move the extractor right there, and then all the front locking surfaces. Make sure there's nothing rough inside here. All these parts are all part of when the barrel locks into place, so we need to make sure there's no burring, no damage, none of that. Safety plunger. Safety plunger works. And we have the striker. Actually look and see where the firing pin's at. As you can see, it's seated down inside there like it's supposed to. Rails, make sure the rails are nice and smooth, no burrs. Receiver, we have the takedowns, the trigger, the disconnector, and all the other components inside here. So the disconnector pinholes as well, which are down here. Make sure all of those pinholes are damaged and not rounded out on both sides. You can see where you got your pin there as well. Your magazine release. You look inside there too, you can see the catch. I want to make sure the catch is not damaged. You can see the spring that's in there holding it. Is important because it's what actually moves the locking block down there. And make sure that spring moves on its own. Components, parts of the sear as well. So we engage the trigger, so we'll push this trigger forward. Squeeze it. The sear inside there actually engages and moves. Barrel are the barrel feed for the slide ramp right there, and feed ramp. The actual chamber itself, make sure there's no damage and burring. The muzzle, which is threaded in this case. And I want to make sure the lug doesn't have any damage as well. Also a good idea to check out the overall straightness as well as for the grooves and lands inside the barrel. The overall straightness of the barrel itself to make sure there's no bends or anything crazy. Take a look at the crown, which is kind of hard to tell with the magnification. But the crown's inspected as well. Make sure there's no damage. Locking surfaces aren't damaged or burred up or anything like that. Our spring, we want to make sure the spring is in good condition. That the rod is generally straight, and as you can see, it rolls. We don't have any alignment issues or anything damaged up on the front, so that's good. Got the spring assembly inside the magazine, the actual magazine itself, base plate, and the magazine spring base. Want to make sure that the lips on the actual feeder follower are in good condition. There's no damage on the plates or on the inside of the magazine well. So those little tabs help hook onto there. Now let's identify areas of interest in viewing the properties and determine the functions between them. One of the main things that's going to be my area of interest is going to be the fire control group, especially getting down into some of these small pieces down inside here. And when you start getting into the big guy down there with your magazine release, your slide release, and even your takedown release as well. All these nice little pins too, kind of with their little springs inside. Some of them a little bit of a nerve-wracking thing. As far as level of readiness for this part of the project, I'm feeling pretty good about it. I have built some similar kinds of guns in the past, so it's not totally foreign concept to me. I'm feeling pretty confident about it. My main concerns, like I mentioned, are getting inside there into the fire control group and kind of making it do what it does and losing parts. Losing parts is my main concern. I just got that kind of bad luck. All right, so let's talk about go and no-go gauges. This is a go gauge. We're going to start off with the go gauge to put this inside here. We'll go down inside the barrel and insert it inside the barrel by hand. I'm going to close the slide, let it go forward, and we're going to see if it seats all the way. We do have the go gauge inside there, and it has seated all the way properly and locked into place. Basically, if this was around, it would be ready to fire. And it's we're going to do the no-go gauge. Now, it's important to do the no-go gauge and the go gauge because it can also have a no-go as well. And if the no-go goes, no matter what, something's still wrong. Either you have some of the dimensions are off, such as like either the bore is out of round, or you have some kind of damage or burring, or something weird is going on, lack of material. So if this drops fully into place, just like the go gauge did, then we know we have a problem. So we're going to insert it in there and then let the slide go forward and check the difference between readings here. Now you notice visually, before you even take any kind of measurements or any notice, this is not in battery. It doesn't sit in battery. And it is fully forward. Like it's not trying to pull it forward now. It won't go any forward or forward. So this would not or should not fire, which is what we want because it is a no-go gauge. But here's the other tell is you have all of your seating surfaces here are all gapped. You have space. You could get a feeler gauge down in there. Probably not a very big one, maybe 1/10 of an inch, but you could probably get a good sized feeler gauge, roughly about the size of a dime through there. Just put that in the design. I like these because they are exactly the same size and design as a casing. I have seen some that are more the size of a bullet. Now those are nice because the actual with lead cartridge on the front of there, other than just the actual round itself, the actual projectile sticking out of it. Now that's nice, but at the same time it can also cause problems. You can see you can even have these little fine pieces that I have it's picking up from rolling on my table here. You know, those types of things can throw off, so you got to make sure it's clean. Some designs are more forgiving than others. This particular design is pretty forgiving, but I would say we want to make sure it's clean before we use it.